This conference will now be recorded.
Okay, just give me a minute. All right, good evening, everyone. My name is Laura Schifrin, and I am calling the meeting to order of the Montechusett Regional Planning Commission for Thursday, June 5th, 2025 at 7:02 p.m. And this meeting will be recorded to ensure that we have an accurate record of our discussion. If anyone has any concerns about being recorded, please let me know. And this meeting is being held under an act extending certain COVID-19 measures adopted during the state of emergency signed by Governor May 8th. If everyone could be muted, please. 2025, allowing for local and regional governments to hold public meetings remotely or in hybrid fashion through June 30th, 2027. All votes will be taken by roll call. Next on the agenda is our MRPC minutes for May 8th, 2025. Is there a motion?
Jeff Tillotson moves to accept the minutes from the May 8th meeting, 2025.
Thank you, Jeff. Is there a second?
Second, Alan Pease.
Thank you, Alan. Any further discussion? Hearing none. Who's taking the roll call tonight?
Hello, Laura. This is Kayla Quest. Okay, roll call. Alan Pease.
Aye.
Amanda Reed.
Aye.
Dean Valier.
Aye.
Jeff Tillotson.
Tillotson, aye.
Guy Corbacero.
Corbacero, aye.
Kathy Norton.
Aye.
Christopher Monroe.
Monroe, aye.
Laura Schifrin.
Laura Schifrin, aye.
Mary Jo Bohart.
Mary Jo Bohart, aye.
Thank you all very much. Cash schedule, is Robert on? Oh, we didn't do.
I don't think he's on. I'll read it though.
Oh, okay. Thank you. We did not do the roll call and introductions.
Okay.
I just went to the minutes rather than having you do the quorum count. So would you please do that now?
Yes. Alan Pease.
Present.
Amanda Reed.
Present.
Dean Valier.
Valier, present.
Jeff Tillotson.
Tillotson, present.
Kathy Norton.
Present.
Christopher Monroe.
Monroe, present.
Laura Schifrin.
Laura Schifrin, present.
Mary Jo Bohart.
Mary Jo Bohart, present.
Okay, thank you all very much.
Guy Corbacero just popped back on.
Okay.
Guy, we're doing the roll call. So.
Guy, here, I'm sorry, I pressed the wrong button.
That's okay. Okay, I believe that's it, correct? I'm going to think that's okay.
Yes.
All right. Okay, next is our cash schedule.
Okay. Opening balances total $539,322.97. Total receipts for the period total $246,152.08. Total cash on hand before the warrant $785,475.05. Less amount of this warrant $136,916.83. Balance after this warrant $648,558.22. And total on deposit
for the period $648,558.22. And that's it.
Okay, are there any questions? Hearing and seeing none, I will ask for a motion to accept the cash schedule subject to audit.
Tillotson makes the motion to accept the cash schedule, subject to audit.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second, Alan Pease.
Okay. If there's no further discussion, can the vote be taken, please? Thank you.
Alan Pease,
Aye.
Amanda Reed,
Aye.
Dean Valier,
Valier, aye.
Jeff Tillotson,
Tillotson, aye.
Guy Cobersero,
Corbacero, aye.
Kathy Norton,
Aye.
Christopher Monroe,
Monroe, aye.
Laura Schifrin,
Laura Schifrin, aye.
Mary Jo Bohart,
Mary Jo Bohart, aye.
and that's all voting members.
Thank you. Do we have any guests here this evening? I don't see
any, Madam Chair.
I don't see any. Okay. Or any questions about the agenda or anything? I don't see any. Okay. 5 administrative matters.
Ollie, you want to take 5.1, please?
Yes, thank you. 5.1 is the election of officers, vote for the slate of officers and at-large members for FY26. The nominating committee presented the following proposed slate of officers at the last meeting. For chair, Christopher Monroe; vice chair, Guy Corbacero; treasurer, Robert Schwartz; vice treasurer, Doug Thornton; secretary, Kyle Nardowitz; at-large member, Mary Jo Bohart; and at-large member, Peter Cunningham. A resolution is be it resolved that the Montechusett Regional Planning Commission hereby appoints the slate of officers as presented and listed above by the nominating committee.
Is there a motion? Will somebody make that motion? Or say that you move?
Tillotson, move the resolution as read.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Corbacero, second.
Okay, thank you. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, would you take the roll call vote, please?
Alan Pease,
Aye.
Amanda Reed,
Aye.
Dean Valier,
Valier, aye.
Jeff Tillotson,
Tillotson, aye.
Guy Cobersero,
Corbacero, aye.
Kathy Norton,
Aye.
Christopher Monroe,
Monroe, aye.
Laura Schifrin,
Laura Schifrin, aye.
Mary Jo Bohart,
Mary Jo Bohart, aye.
and that's all voting members.
Thank you very much. 5.2.
Excuse me, Madam Chair. I have just a quick question, sorry. So Mr. Christopher Monroe takes over at our next meeting, right?
Yes.
The lucky guy doesn't have a meeting in his first month. What happened?
He lucked out.
Planning the calendar well.
Just making sure people are awake tonight, Madam Chair. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. So we're at 5.2, and that is fiscal 25 budget amendments. Glenn?
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. The first half of this is to respectfully request that we use from the consultant line item. You can see under A, sub A, basically from the consultant line item, GL code 54,000 that has a current balance of over $64,000, that we use the overage in this line item to offset slight overages in other line items. The first one would be to transfer $856.69 into employee Medicare. That was an unforeseen increase in Medicare. B would be to transfer, I can't see it. Kayla, can you go Thank you. Can you scroll? Thank you very, very much. Transfer some funding from the consultant line item to offset a deficit in the retirees' health insurance line item. Retiree health insurance went up a lot more than we anticipated when we set the budget last year. Item C, to offset a deficit in advertising. We actually did more advertising this year for a variety of things, staff, but also for some videos as well. I'm competing with somebody's mic, so I'll just keep going. D, from consultant line item, transfer 175 to a equipment repair line item. That went up a very small amount by 175. And E, from the consultant line item, to transfer $181 and a penny into the dues and memberships line item. There's a slight increase there. We have more people on the payroll who are asking and we're approving to be members of the American Planning Association. And that's a good thing, just so you know. And that's really a shot in the dark when you set that line item every year. You're not sure how many people are going to actually sign up. I've been a member of APA through MRPC for about 15 or 20 years or whatever, but I think we have at least 3 more people who've asked, and we support training and attendance at these functions, and it opens them up to new information from the American Planning Association in best practices and so on. So that's a good thing. F, to transfer into the computer software line item. We took on, I think more recently Zoom, but we took on a bigger package for the SurveyMonkey subscription. There may be some other stuff in there. Maybe Kayla can talk to it. I'm not painting anybody in a corner here. But the SurveyMonkey is a great tool for getting data, and we got a larger software package annual fee for that. And then to transfer $433.34. Oh, that's the computer software. I don't think there's an H. Kayla, can you scroll down for me, please? And then we'll look at this table. So if all those transfers you approve, then this is how the final budget would settle out. Our final federal revenue would land about just under 1.8 million. Final state a little under $1 million at 987. Final local about a little over $250,000 at 263. For the final total revenue about a little over 3 million. This is the first time we probably broke in 3 million ever, or maybe once in the last 20 years. That's big credit to the Transportation Department that brought in Safe Streets for All, SS4A grant. So that nudged us up a bit this year for a 2-year grant. We'll get some more revenue from that in the beginning of the next fiscal year, July through November. Final project expenses, $3,028,000, leaving us a slight surplus of $8,415, or about 0.3%, and our projected overhead rate about 120%, or 1.2. And there is a detailed budget. We have the Excel spreadsheet if you want to see it. What I'd like to do, Kayla, would you please be so kind as to pull up the FY25 and just to show you where these numbers came from. Kayla, if you would go right down to it's in the row 60 area where it basically has the over-under and the overhead under expenses past, below that, I'm sorry. You see expenses, and then below the expenses, all those line items there from 82 down to about 100 and something. So right about there, rows 121, 123 okay, so there's the total expenses, 3028. There's the surplus deficit of 8415, 0.3%, about 120% overhead. That's where those numbers come from. Just want you to see that this is the baking we do in the kitchen, and that's where in the table in your handout where those numbers come from. So I just want to make sure that you're looking at the source data. I will ask Kayla to go back to the detailed agenda, that table. So I did refer that there is a detailed budget found in the handouts folder for tonight, and the resolution is what it is, to ask respectfully for the amendments to happen and then have the numbers settled as presented. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Okay, so is there a motion that the Montechusett Regional Planning Commission hereby approves the amendments above and the final fiscal 25 budget as presented?
Tillotson, so moved.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Monroe, second.
Thank you. Any further discussion on the fiscal year 25 budget amendments? Hearing none, can you take the roll call, please?
Alan Pease,
Aye.
Amanda Reed,
Aye.
Dean Valier,
Valier, I.
Tillotson,
Tillotson, aye.
Guy Colbersero,
Barbasaro, aye.
Kathy Norton,
Aye.
Christopher Monroe,
Monroe, I.
Laura Schifrin,
Laura Schifrin, aye.
and Mary Jo Bohart.
Mary Jo Bohart, I.
Thank you all very much. Glenn, are you doing the fiscal year 26 final budget approval request?
Yes, please, Madam Chair.
Go ahead.
Thank you very much. So I'll give you the overview. This is the table summarizing. Then I'll ask Kayla to pull up the FY26 budget. I'll show you a mistake I corrected. So the numbers are going to be off of it by about $5,000 roughly in the totals. But generally speaking, total revenue about $1,004,000, $1,365,000. That's obviously going to go down a little bit because the SS4A, or Safe Streets for All, will earn less revenue in the upcoming fiscal year than the current fiscal year. State revenue is projected to go up a bit. I'm going to get into that more when we get into the detailed budget in the Excel file. Final local revenue projected for FY26, about $167,000, $168,000, $10,000 from the Brownfields Program Income Program, totaling about $2.5 million. So there's a difference right now between the $3 million that we're going to earn in FY25 and the projected 2.5 for FY26. However, don't be frightened. We have, I think, some better news to share in just a moment or two. Final projected expenses at $2,778,000 for a projected surplus deficit of $264,726, or just under 10% at 9.5%, and a projected overhead rate of about 119%, similar to FY25. I always say at this time every year, for those of you that I'm sorry I repeat myself, if you start a fiscal year and you're at under 20%, you can make it through the fiscal year and plug the gaps in the fiscal in the budget. So it is, however, that has to be accompanied by due diligence of staff to go out and seek funds. Again, when we look at the Excel file, I'll show you where some good things are going to happen. Actually, we did summarize them here. So several months ago, first paragraph, possible additional federal revenue, FY26, from the Economic Development Administration for $70,000. Several months ago, the EDA office, her title is Economic Development Rep. Deb Bevan said, don't talk to us yet about the next year's economic development planning round for this entitlement planning funding of $70,000. We got an email from her a week or two ago that opened the door to the possibility of being able to apply for this $70,000. The recurring theme and overarching is uncertainty in federal budget and federal funding sources. So this should have been, or would have typically been in a normal year, locked up and under contract for April 1. But we're asking, we've been told to delay that and not expect it right away. We'll see what happens. The 2 out of the 4 bullets, the top 2 ones, are district local technical assistance that we affectionately call DLTA or Delta for $103,000 and change, just under 104, and then DLTA augmentation or gap funding of another 46 for FY26. We'll see what happens. The governor did put a 0 in for this line item this year. The House and Senate on Beacon Hill put in different numbers of 3 and 4 million respectively. Now they'll go to conference committee and figure out if they're going to give us 4 million, 3 million, or 0. Historically, the state budget passes around August, July on a good year. So we'll find out hopefully by Labor Day if this money will be in the budget or not. That has to be stated for the record. There's a really good possibility to get a mass trails grant of 90 and change, which the staff worked really hard to put that together. So that's a very, very good thing. We'll wait though. We don't have an award yet. We are hoping, excuse me, that we will hear soon. Just yesterday, the 4th, Massachusetts Community One-Stop Grants for a Village Center project and a Housing Choice project for $143,000 and $140,000 respectively were submitted by Bernie Cahill of our Planning Development Department and other people who contributed to that project. Kayla, stay right there, and I just want to say that if all of these monies come in, you get another $523,834. That's typically not what happens. You may get 1 out of those 2 community one-stops or 0 of the 2. So we won't know. But any one of those that do come in will help offset the number at the very top in the bottom of that table, the 264,726. So staff's been working very hard. I met with many of the staff, especially planning and development in January around the inauguration day window. And I basically said, look, folks, this is, it's going to be a difficult year. We know federal funding will decline. Pivot the organization, go after state revenues, and planning and development more than stepped up to the plate, and they have been going full tilt to try to boost state revenue for legitimate planning work. Obviously, that's our core principle: is provide technical assistance and planning to our communities, but you have to fund it to do it. There is a statement there that a receipt of approximately 50% of the state revenue will offset the projected budget deficit of 9.5, and then a detailed budget 26 can be found. So, Kayla, would you be so kind to pull up the Excel file that says FY26? I think there's a REV at the end of it, and there it is. So, Kayla, would you do me a favor? The worksheet tabs on the very bottom, one says budget, the other says salaries. Could you click the salaries tab, please? So I want to make sure that, yes, so we made an agreement with Brian Doherty, and thank you, Holly, for helping me make sure that this was right. So we put the number in there, and that's right out of our agreement with Brian. If he does well to follow Brad, and Brian has been doing exceedingly well, that he would basically earn certain dollar figures FY24 and 25 and at the beginning of 26, or beginning of 25, beginning of 26. So that 115,762 is for Brian. And Brian, about 2 hours ago, we corrected this. So the $1.4 million down the bottom for the salary went up by about $3 to $5 grand, basically, whatever that figure is. So that'll throw off the table in the detailed agenda a little bit. But I'm doing due diligence here. I want to admit my mistake, and then go back to the budget side, please. Kayla, that would be great. And what we'll do, so the rest of this should flush out. Between rows 7 and basically 24, on the rightmost column, column F, where I told you about the extra state revenue that we're pursuing. Thanks very much, Kayla, for highlighting that. That's where those numbers come from. You see the 523,834 on row 24. So I talked about that, and if those monies come in, we can help offset a deficit. What we do not do at MRPC is we do not throw those monies in column D. Column D is actual under contract, or where our auditor in the past has advised us at least 90% of certainty that you will receive revenue, put it in column D. We're not at 90% certainty on the stuff in column F, but if the stuff in column F is realized, then you put it over in column D and you make it a part of your budget officially. I just wanted to make sure that we're not adding another $500,000 to the budget to say everything is all, cherry ice cream and hot fudge, okay? But it's an honest budget. If you would go down, Kayla, to the very bottom where we have the total expenses with the over, under, with the surplus deficit, Kayla's already ahead of me all the time. And that's where those data points come from for the table in the detailed agenda, except for the $3,000 to $5,000 off in the salary, which I didn't have time to fix the detailed agenda before we met this evening. That's the gist of it. If you would go back to the detailed agenda, please. Kayla, the resolution is there, respectfully requesting an approval of the FY26 budget as presented. Thank you, and I'll mute myself. Thanks, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Glenn. So is there a resolution that the Montechusett Regional Planning Commission hereby approves the fiscal 26 budget as presented? Is there a motion?
At the risk of sounding like I'm pre-recorded, Tillotson so moves.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Monroe, second.
Thank you. Any further discussion or questions for Glenn? Hearing and seeing none, would you take the roll call, please?
Alan Pease,
Aye.
Amanda Reed,
Aye.
Dean Valier,
Valier, aye.
Jeff Tillotson,
Tillotson, aye.
Guy Cobracero,
Aye.
Kathy Norton,
Aye.
Christopher Monroe,
Monroe, aye.
Laura Schifrin,
Laura Schifrin, aye.
Mary Jo Bohart.
Mary Jo Bohart, aye.
Thank you all very much. Next is,
Excuse me, Madam Chair. I'm sorry,
yeah,
Jeff Tillotson. We just went through the two presentations. Thank you very much. This is not an easy thing to do in the current climate, Glenn. You and your team, thank you so much for doing this. I know you guys struggle. I'm not going to, I don't want to use the word struggle, but this is not easy to do. And dealing with people who are doing other things in municipal, both state and federal, you guys have been doing yeoman's work, so thank you very much.
thank you for that. Any other questions? We already had the vote. So 5.3, Glenn, is that you as well?
Yes, and just before that, there's an FY27 draft budget for information
Oh,
only.
yeah,
There's no
there is.
vote on
Sorry.
this. You don't have to apologize at all. Mr. Tillotson, also, thank you, but we do these things as a team. We've been working on the budget since January of this year. Constant uncertainty do not make it easy. But thank you for your kind words.
It's just nice to hear it. I'm sorry, guys, but it's a tough world right now, and I just want to make sure someone hears it from somewhere. So, but thank you for you and your team for everything you do, and everybody else paying attention to it.
Thanks to the team. The 27 budget, given the future management transition, my transition, or eventually, that we really need to start planning ahead for the next fiscal year. So even though we've buttoned up 25, we've adopted 26. We need to start now. We need to look ahead and really figure out and have a 2 to 3 year financial plan of what we're going to do to make it ideally somewhat more seamless for someone who comes in, for the person to come in later on. That's all I want to say on 27. These are the same numbers I put out in the April or the May meeting. It's just a copy and paste of that, but it's a starting point, okay? And these numbers will change 1,000 times between now and next June. That's all I want to say. 5.3, I can go on, which is information only. Our legal counsel, Attorney David Bedanza, did complete his review of an AI policy for the organization. The draft, this is just the table of contents that he gave us. I just want to give you an idea. The draft is available as a handout at this evening's meeting. And if you want to download it and look at it, I'm not asking for anybody to check it out tonight, but if you want to have a ball, we'll put this on the August meeting, August 7, for presentation formally to say, okay, you've had 2 months to read it. What do you think? I'm not looking for an approval on the August 7th, but sooner than later would be great. We can live with September, October, but this has to be done, and I want to make sure that I did my due diligence to come back to this, and I defer back to Mr. Monroe, who has his hand up for our Madam Chair. Thank you.
Why am I not seeing the hand up? Who's got their hand up?
I do, Madam Chair. It's Christopher Monroe.
Okay, Chris.
All right. So I have had a chance to go through this, and I have lots of thoughts. Would it be best just to mark up the document and send that back to? Actually, ultimately, I think the right answer would be to see if we could schedule a call offline to talk through some of this.
That would be great. We appreciate the input from any and all commissioners on this. We're going to absorb them like dry sponges and move on. Yes, sir. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, conceptually, I think it makes sense, but in terms of practical implementation of it, I think some of the framework that's being set up isn't going to keep pace with how much this is going to evolve over the next 12 months.
Thank you, Christopher. I deeply appreciate it. This is your wheelhouse. My dad didn't raise me to, really work under the hood on cars, and I'd rather have my old 69 Buick and change the points and everything right now. AI policy is not my bag, so all input is genuinely appreciated.
Thank you, Christopher and Glenn. And I would say that I just did a quick glance of it, and it looked very much possibly like a template of what has been. So I think Christopher is right in that we're going to be seeing a lot of changes. So it's a good thing we don't need to make a decision now. Next would be 5.5.
So thank you very much. Ralph, revolving loan fund, the RLF policy. So we brought this before the commission in 2018, 2019. COVID hit. I set it aside. Recently sent it to Attorney Bedanza for legal review. I don't have his legal opinion yet. He did the II policy and something else for us to review a contract. And I followed up with him. I'm just waiting to hear back from him on this review policy. But can I hit the highlights, Kayla? Would you be so kind as to put the bullets there? So for the people that weren't here in 2001, when we wrote a grant, we received almost $500,000. We made a loan in 06 to an entity for $350,000. That entity, 184 Stone Street Realty Trust, has been paying back on the loan since that time. As of June 1st, the balance in the RLF program is $364,000 and change. You saw that in your cash schedule. Tonight, we did look at a loan policy in 1819, and the commissioners basically in that, I forget which month, I apologize, but in 2019, approved it subject to legal review. COVID hit, brought it back, sent it to the attorney. Now, we're catching up on stuff from COVID, basically. So what we'll do is, upon receipt of the loan policy, I'll email this out to the commissioners before the August 7th meeting and ask you all to take a look at it. I won't be looking for approval on August 7th. If you feel comfortable, that's fine. But I think that's going to be a 2-meeting issue to look at how we will lend money again. Please understand that I'm very comfortable with oversight of the program. Karen's in charge of planning and development, and Tracy Murphy will be the doers on a day-to-day basis, okay, about the lending. But one of the last bullets there, MRPC does not have the staff capacity to underwrite the loan. Staff will either have to be trained in underwriting, that's my objective way of saying, or the agency will need to outsource this task to a qualified vendor, of which several exist in New England. And I didn't know that until Tracy and Karen and I went to, I think it was Portland, Maine. I think it was last fall for a Brownfields conference. And we learned that there are other entities that have been managing and underwriting this type of loans, these types of loans, from the U.S. EPA, Environmental Protection Agency. So bottom line is my advice would just be, outsource the underwriting to have them do all the due diligence and make sure they look over and pour over financial statements. We're not a bank, so we need an underwriter. So we'll come back to this on the 7th of August, and probably, I'm opening the door to say, I'm guessing you'll want to talk about it in September, when we'd like to get it adopted by late summer, early fall, ideally, in an ideal world. Having said that, I can move on to 5.5 and 5.6. That's okay. And I get a nod from the chair lady. Thank you, Laura, very much. August 7th is the next meeting. I've said it a couple of times, so you won't have a July meeting. You took that vote in May. So you can all pat yourselves on the back with that tonight and give yourself a break in July. 5.6, Kayla, if you'd pop that up on the screen, there are 3 things under here. Federal funding challenges. And so I've been holding a lunch and learn on a noon. I did April, the 3rd Wednesday. May, I did the 4th Wednesday. I've got to do the 4th Wednesday again in June. And I want to get back to the 3rd Wednesday. But the bottom line is, about a week ago, I sent out for the June 25th lunch and learn on federal funding cuts. I don't receive information daily, but ironically, today I did receive another email about another, not a funding cut, but how terms and conditions are being attached to certain grants. We'll get into that in another minute or two as I wind up my long speech tonight. So, but please come to those lunch and learns. They are available on the MRPC YouTube channel as well. So subscribe to our channel if you want to view those conversations in the past. We schedule them for about an hour. They've been taking 30 to 45 minutes. Put it on fast speed and get it out. Let's see, 5.6.2. So we need to revisit this. Let me go back to 2007 when the commissioners promoted me to the ED slot. They gave the current executive director the authority to sign contracts. The federal government is attaching certain terms and conditions to contracts where I would just normally sign these. We get into a system around here. You're used to the language. You know what to do. This federal administration is including language such as you will comply and not interfere with ICE, and you will not implement DEI. There is a great deal of consternation among many local governments and regional governments and state governments whether or not to sign contracts. we have to have more of a discussion about this. And if these terms and conditions, not if, as these terms and conditions are attached to contracts, I need to make sure that the commissioners are comfortable or not, or whatever. Bottom line is I'll be looking for votes from commissioners. Do we sign a certain federal contract with provisions such as these in the contracts? As the language is more forthcoming in contracts, we'll send it out to our commissioners. We'll educate you before meetings and say, okay, if you want me to sign this, I will. Here's the good, the bad, the ugly, and I'll be seeking legal counsel. I have emailed the attorney on these ICE and DEI terms and conditions already, as they will be tied to federal contracts like the MassDOT contract. But we're all in this together. I don't want to sign something blindly. I want legal advice, and you run this agency, we serve you. So we need your guidance. I will say on that, on 5.6.2, the last thing I'll say is that I received an email from the executive director of Berkshire Regional Planning Commission late this afternoon. There is a Department of Homeland Security, DHS, SAFER grant, which funds local equipment for firefighters and emergency responders. So the terms and conditions about ICE and DEI and so on are being attached to that new grant, the SAFER grant. And what the Berkshire Regional Planning Commission director indicated that one of the communities in Berkshire County will not be pursuing a SAFER grant to get firefighting equipment because of terms and conditions. So this is about less signing contracts blindly, just better understanding more of what's going on. This is not political, it's legal. It's just, what do you want to do? We will move forward. But there are implications. That's all I want to say about that. It's information. 5.6.3. This is more of a peek behind the curtain, and what do you do as admin people? So the bottom line is, to the credit of our planning and development department staff, like transportation getting that big $750,000 SS4A planning and development, nailed a couple of other grants. They're in that lower paragraph: Mass Office of Outdoor Recreation and Mass Municipal Vulnerability Preparedness. See, if Kayla highlights it, I can say it better. And both of those programs are under EEA. So what admin works with Karen and her staff is to advertise and then hire interns. Kayla, could you scroll down a little bit, please? So Holly, HR, takes the lead. We have an internal posting policy for positions. So March 20, we posted. Why do we advertise in March when we're hiring people in late May and June? Because I saw an advertisement in February or March from a state agency looking for interns, and we have to compete with those entities. You got to get to interns in the beginning of their semester, not even the mid. But you got to do it before semester break or right at semester break. When they come home from Cancun, they see an ad. Then we advertised externally. We had 29 applicants. 17 completed their apps, 6 withdrew, 11 were interviewed. Karen did interviews, Holly did. Zach K, our regional planner, who has retail management experience and hiring and interviewing, we brought him in and taught him the government way. And then I helped with some interviews also. We hired 4. They are Julianne Kavanaugh, Matthew or Matt Curley, Tasia Guitar, and Julia Opal. And Julianne Kavanaugh, I believe, has Zoomed in this evening, and I appreciate that. I did tell the interns they weren't required to be here, and Karen's waving to Julianne, and I love it. The bottom line is that interns, as they are still in school or just leaving school, seeing how this operation works, seeing how governance works at this level, I thought was important for them to be aware. And they are just going to be dynamos this summer. I want to say, and I'll leave that on a positive note. Federal funding is a pain, but I want to be positive here. These interns are awesome, and we're going to have a great summer. And that's all I have, Madam Chair. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Glenn. And welcome to Jillian. Next is department head updates. Anything on GIS 6.1?
Nothing particularly in GIS, but for IT, we got all the new laptops, and we'll be getting to roll those out to our staff within the month of June. So that is very, very exciting for all of our staff members.
I bet. Okay. 6.2, Karen. Planning and development.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Glenn told everything that I was going to tell, so For the Village Center one-stop that we submitted, that was for the towns of Templeton, Winchendon, Phillipston, and Hubbardston. The Housing Choice Grant that we submitted was for Ashby, Groton, Lunenburg, and Shirley. Bernie also submitted a one-stop application for Shirley under the MBTA Catalyst Fund. Once you are approved with a letter from EOHLC as an MBTA community, you can apply for these MBTA Catalyst funds to do anything to prepare for the multifamily housing coming in. So Shirley got their letter in March or April, and we suggested they should apply, so we helped them submit that application to do some intersection work, sidewalks, stuff like that. So hopefully they get that grant to help them.
Great. And that's for the communities. I'm sorry, Karen. I just want to clarify. That's for the communities that have already adopted their bylaw?
Adopted and received a letter of approval from EOHLC.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
We also applied for REPA, Regional Energy Planning Assistance, under the Department of Energy Resources for Green Communities. We submitted that on Friday for the 13 of our communities. I guess that's it for now.
Thank you, Karen. 6.3, is Brian on?
Yes, just a few quick things. Next Wednesday is our monthly Joint Transportation Committee meeting. The JTC, it's essentially an advisory group to the MPO. So at that meeting, we'll have a presentation on how to initiate a project for the TIP, which I'm hoping that gets a lot of interest and a lot of people at that meeting. There's always some confusion on getting these projects on the TIP list for federal funding. I think there's a number of communities that don't realize how many local jurisdiction roads qualify for those funds. So we'll have some information on that next Wednesday at our meeting at 2:30 at the JTC. You can register for that on our website. Last month, I mentioned that we had our transportation improvement program out for public comment. That comment period ended. The MPO endorsed that document at the May meeting. This month, we have our essentially our transportation staff's federal fiscal year work program out for public comment. That's the Unified Planning Work Program. So the comment period is open right now. You can access the draft document on our website under announcements, and the MPO will review that on June 18th and vote to endorse that. So that's what's going on in the transportation world this month.
Thank you, Brian. Is there any new business to come before us?
Madam Chair?
Yes, Karen?
I had one more thing, please.
Yep, sure can.
So we discovered, as we've been applying for grants for our communities, that getting support letters can be difficult. So we've decided that when we send the email to the town, we're going to copy the commission member so that they can assist us in getting that support letter. It's really a struggle. And I understand that a lot of towns don't have a lot of capacity, but we must submit support letters with our applications.
Okay, and that usually comes from the town administrator or planning board, or?
Some towns, the town administrator or town manager signs. Sometimes it's the select board chair. It depends on the town. Really?
Okay.
Well, you need.
The commissioner should be telling the towns that they need, why wouldn't they support, give a letter of support when you can get a grant?
Yeah, we usually send it to the town administrator, the executive assistant, sometimes the select board chair, but it's, we just want a little help.
Yeah.
Can I augment this?
Who wants to augment?
Can I just add a point, Laura, for
Yes.
everybody? Karen's spot on. I mean, help is great. Every town is different. Laura, I agree with you. A support letter should be. I'm going to be blunt. Those are no-brainer things. You know, my record to get a support letter to someone is 7 minutes. Give me a business day, but you'll have it within 7 minutes to an hour. I mean, generally speaking, if I'm in the office, we spin them out. It's that we should be supportive. There are towns that will place an item like that on their agenda of the Board of Selectmen meeting to take a vote to see if they'll authorize the town administrator to write a letter. So every town is different. I'm just letting everybody know. I wish it was the same everywhere and quick, but sometimes it's not. I want to respect those towns and their processes. That's up to them. It's not up to us.
Okay, so having said that, would it be helpful, or maybe we already do it, to send a template letter, or something that has bullets on it that says these points should be covered?
We usually do send that.
Okay, well, you can't make it any easier than that. So, I guess that's one of the things that the commissioners should be pushing in their own communities to do.
And that's why we wanted to copy them.
Okay, all right.
Thank you.
Very good. Now we have open session. Does anyone have anything else they'd like to bring up before you get a month's vacation? I guess not. Okay. If there is no other business to come before us, then I'll take a motion to adjourn at 7:48 p.m.
So moved.
Okay, who's moving? Say your name, please.
Monroe.
Tillotson seconds.
Thank you very much. And if everyone is in agreement, we will not have to do a roll call. Alrighty. Then have a great July, everyone. Stay well, have fun, and you'll be seen in August.
Good night, all.